Hey everybody, this is Brian. Welcome to my YouTube page.
Well, I'm here with Juliet Cameron, and spiritual teacher, author, and healer. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm really happy that I got a chance to sit down with you and talk. We've known each other for a long time, and I've been wanting you to do a podcast with me for a long time because I've got a lot of questions to ask. And a lot of these questions are going to be personal questions from me because I'm dealing with these things myself. But the first question is that I want to ask you is, how did you decide to become a spiritual teacher? I've read your book, Falling Upward, which was really awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Very well written and very touching. And, first off, I just got to say, what an amazing journey in your life. So what led you to become a spiritual teacher is the first thing I want to know.
Well, like anybody, it was, I was tired of failing. I was tired of suffering. And I was already a teacher, so that's a passion of mine. And long before that, I was a professional dancer. And I loved dancing, but I also taught dance. So it was just in my inherent nature, I think, to teach.
Just to be a teacher.
Yeah. I love it. But all the years that I was doing what I thought was like the right thing, I thought, I'm meditating and I'm doing yoga and I believe I'm eating right, because I'm eating what people say is good food. And some of that I ended up having bad allergies too, and then later on I find out that most of the food that we eat is absolute junk. So, no wonder that was contributing to a lot of suffering.
Well, the food that we do eat is junk,
Oh, you don't know what to eat. Yeah.
Well, you got processed meats, processed sugar, refined sugar. It's in everything.
Even if you're eating your organic meats, you're still going to consume some hormones from the animal that's only natural.
And sugar that's been added to it, possibly for whatever. But anyway.
Hey, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Suffering. I dealt with alcohol. I dealt with drugs, and then even after getting clean, though, that still had the everyday challenges and things that were going on in my life, and my life was actually ruling me. I felt like I had no control over anything. That no matter what situation was going on, I had to just keep my head above water and try a little bit harder and pray a little bit harder and work a little bit more. And then when I was more in tune with that, things would just be easier. And if things were always easier, that meant it was better. The bigger break.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I never really understood why challenges were there in the first place, and they consumed me. So it was not until, I'd have to say, and this is with almost everyone, the state of suffering was so intense that you have one of two choices, and it's either just to
either die or
be reborn,
move forward, I suppose,
yeah,
or be reborn, or
come right out of it. That's it. We hit that far.
Second coming of something. So, so that's an amazing journey. I know you have many mentors that you that taught you a lot of you learned a lot from, so you got a lot of specialized knowledge in spirituality and spiritualism. Sure. Who are some of your favorite people to learn from, I guess, would be the question.
Well, I would have to say there's no coincidences, I'm certain. And in a time when I was kitty cat, in a time when I was teaching classes, in dance classes, I had a student who walked up to me and asked me, and she said, just out of the blue, she said, "Have you ever heard of Eckhart Tolle?" And I said, "Well, no, I haven't," and I had not. I was completely honest with her. And she said, "You should check him out." And I thought about that. I put it back in my file cabinet, and I didn't really do much
Memory
anything.
bank.
Yeah, I did, right. And so I went on with life. And it wasn't until I lost my son in a full-term stillbirth that just put me straight down to
Right down the hellhole,
nothing-
basically.
Nothing else I could have ever compared
Right.
in that experience
Yeah.
was, and I would have to say the state of my suffering was at the greatest.
So that's
Anyone who's lost a child.
so then it'd be safe to say that you turned towards Eckhart Tolle then.
That was it. It clicked.
Wow.
It's like one of those moments. I'm driving in the car, and all of a sudden, there it is. There's my student once again reminding me, hi, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a sign. So I'm running to the bookstore and I grab an audio CD because I can't bring myself to even read hardly anything. I'm going through unbelievable grief, and so while I'm in the car, I'm listening to this, and I get through, I believe, the first couple of CDs, which was The Power of Now, which was my first introduction to the state of consciousness in the present moment. And it completely stopped me in my tracks. It's like there's a few things in your life that really grab you and just, you'd have to say they're life-changing. And that was definitely one of the biggest. So I would say Eckhart was my first foundation for understanding that the mind, the ego mind, is full of absolute trash.
Trash.
It is.
Take out the papers.
Nothing, right?
Right.
Nothing at all that really comes from the ego mind that's productive, because they're all past and future and can't exist in the present moment. And I was bouncing off of that my whole life. It's either I was in memory zone of my past or I was in hopeful zone of my future, but I was convinced that living in the present moment wasn't good enough. Maybe there was too much pain there, but whatever I was doing, I was needing to do it for a better future, so I didn't have to go live in the past again, and the suffering was just continuous, So,
So where you are now, I guess. So
yeah.
it's
Well, that's
safe to.
one. That's one.
Well, where you are now, I guess that's safe to say that you broke free of suffering and you become a conscious, enlightened individual.
And that was not really an easy task to do. For Eckhart, he says that he sunk down to the lowest of low, where he of course wanted to die, or he was going to just come out on the other side. And I kind of, I call that jumping the gate. You can stand there forever going, can I get in? Can I get in? There's ways to just jump over it, instead of just banging on it, hoping somebody answers it. It didn't happen for me like that. And I don't think it happens for a lot of people like that. It used to take a lifetime, but we've got through the thousands of years, we've got so many spiritual teachers working so hard to say, how do I get from point A to point B faster? And we're talking about enlightenment and consciousness here. We're talking about how do I get in? I don't want to take my whole life and sit on a mountain or in a cave. Who wants to do that and go through these juggling acts?
Well, that's why people go to gurus. Somebody's already done that for you. You just want the fast track to get there. Somebody's already done all the hard work for you and has done, like Eckhart Tolle. He's done CDs and DVDs and books, and you've got other teachers out there who've done the same DVDs and books and and CDs, and they've all paved the way for you, for the human population to become enlightened and conscious individuals. But there's a select few that jump on that train. And it's a horrible thing to go out in the world, I'm sure, as a conscious individual and just see people just the blinds closed and the lights on, but ain't nobody home, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I myself, I struggle through that. Becoming a conscious individual, I'm becoming awake as an individual through learning and practicing methods. It mentioned, and you mentioned in your book, how you went through a lot of health issues and stuff going on. Yeah. I mean, at this point right now, I would say you look pretty healthy as far as what the outside would show. Fit and, healthy looking, beautiful skin, and, you just kind of have a really nice radiance about you, I guess you could say. But what are you doing to make yourself look like that? I mean, to look the way you do. I'm sure you exercise and things like that.
I love exercise, and I think that's vital. You see, there's an integrity to being a teacher, And we all recognize that every single one of us are needed. There is a way that Eckhart teaches. There is a way that Abraham Hicks teaches. There's a way Louise Hay teaches. There's a way Tony Robbins teaches. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with seeking out this. It's the right thing to do, but we're all needed.
Well, it seems really funny, because you as an individual, Juliet, you don't paint the picture of a typical guru or spiritual teacher, because I've asked people out there before, what's your impression of a spiritual teacher? Oh, they don't shower, and they got dreadlocks, and they don't shave anywhere, and they just look all raggedy and homely, like they've been in a gutter all their life, and they're wearing the turban, and they're wearing
robes
or whatnot.
Or they speak very, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And they all and the majority of people, call you people like call spiritual teachers like quacks, and they're off the rockers, they don't know nothing. You don't paint that picture, so that just goes to show you that even a spiritual teacher can look very beautiful. And
this is really necessary, because the stereotype that people have for spiritual teachers is a belief system. Consciousness looks normal. You don't lose anything. You don't lose your ability to create. You don't lose your ability to be sexy. You get more of it when you're conscious. And that's why I don't dress in a... I could do that for identity's sake.
Sure.
It would make people a lot more comfortable as say, well, she's wearing a turban, she's wearing all white, she must be saintly and that kind of thing. The truth is, whatever teacher does that, they're being real to their nature. They're being who they are. If they want to wear a cardigan, they like them. They don't do them because it makes everybody else feel good. People just get this impression that that's what enlightenment looks like.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what a guru is supposed to look like. They're supposed to look like I've seen YouTube videos and other videos of gurus, and there are some out there who wear the robes. There are some out there who wear all white, and they put themselves on little platforms and sit higher above other people, and I understand most of that's all ego created, but
it may be, it may not be.
But there's still, that's their choice to want to look that way. It's your choice to look beautiful and young and radiant.
We are coming to a brand new revolution. Like I said, every time it's the job of our spiritual teachers to find it, to jump.
So you as a spiritual teacher, Juliet, as I'm seeing throughout the times of learning about spiritualism and learning how to become conscious and enlightened in this world, from the past to from the longer past to the shorter past to the present, it's changing. And the way spiritual teachers teach and the way they talk about different things in retrospect to spiritualism, whether it be Christianity or Judaism or whatever it is, it's changing. And what is bringing about that change, and how are you adapting your teaching methods to that change?
That's a great question. We understand as spiritual teachers about impermanence, which is all things change, and so we must do that also. This is the fault with a lot of people getting stuck in a religious cycle where things are not moving with the flow of life. For an example, things during the time of Christ, when he became an enlightened being, were far different than they are today. Okay.
Sure.
He had no pollution like we have today. He was not worried about getting shot. Maybe, later there was some cruelty there, but pollution issues, food issues, stress issues were all different in his time compared to where we are today, which is, high stress,
high stress, high stress. Everybody's constantly worried about
People
money,
are sick.
and
People are physically sick, they're emotionally sick, they're spiritually asleep, and they have no idea how to turn on the miracle because they've been convinced that this is what you get. You're this person, you're this body, you're your job.
It's all based on belief systems.
It is,
what
and
it's based on.
you're not whole unless you have a soulmate, or you have the perfect job or the career, or you have the perfect face, or you make a certain amount of money. And when those things go away, they crumble too.
Mm-hmm.
There's my identity. How many people killed themselves during the 1930s depression, where they were like, I lost all my money, I don't know what to do, I'm going to kill myself, and they jump out of a window. This is the kind of mentality that people operate on every day. And as a spiritual teacher, it's our job to go inside ourselves and do our own work first, and then to say what worked, what didn't, and then we rotate and we share this, and it's almost like we don't even have to try, because there's this connecting point of infinite source, infinite knowledge, that just kind of like one of us gets it, and it's just a pipeline. It's very interesting. And you get it once you get on that consciousness wave. You open up to that infinite source, and you know as much as Eckhart. Like in a drop of a second, it just switches on. You don't go, oh my God.
What the hell just happened to me?
Yeah.
Did I get abducted by aliens?
It's happened. So we have to change. With me, I would say every single thing that I endured in my life, every journey that I took, every passion that I had, led me to the point that I am today. And when I think of the integrity of mind and body and spirit, which gets misused a lot, people go, oh, we're doing this whole mind and body and spirit thing. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing, because they're still listening to this chattering thing going on in their head. They may be in meditation,
their mind,
but they're thinking about being in a really nice place, and my brain is still going on, and I'm thinking about what I'm having for supper, and am I going to be late, and my husband, and they're getting stuck.
Am I meditating too long? Is somebody getting worried, or
is this person thinking about me, next to me? And they're not taught how to stop that. They're just taught, you sit in meditation. When you first get there, when you first are working to understand, because this is all you know, and it is very, very powerful. And if you've lived in the ego mind your whole life, you can get tricked about what is and what is not. And having a really genuine spiritual teacher is going to help you see it, what I call being the observer, or the eye in the sky, which is the single most important thing that you can be, to see the mind, not be the mind there, once you get sucked into it. But I say, with the whole mind, body, spirit thing, for me, is freeing your mind, awakening your spirit, and healing your body, and you've got to have all of them. See, the thing is, you cannot live the life of you as you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be this, and I'm saying this because you know it, inherently you know it inside you, feeling good, physically fit, loving life, being radiant. Growing old that's not it. Because you learn, people wonder why you don't, in your 40s, like, don't you want to go back to your 20s? And you're like, no. Well, why don't you? Because what you've learned in that process has been magical. And you wouldn't want to go back. You just move forward. But at that point where you're 40 or 50 years old, that's not when you want to be falling apart.
Right.
And there are a lot of teachers that do one or two pieces of that. Maybe they get into the aspect of physical, components of keeping your body healthy, and maybe even some of the cleansing on the inside and the internal work that goes on from here, this perspective. But then they leave out, how do you find your purpose in life? How do you connect with the law of attraction, using the complete law of attraction, not one particular piece, which is just for you. And I get into that more. That's a whole nother big
ball
thing.
game, yeah.
It is.
I'm sure it's a whole nother ball of wax.
You need all of it. You
Sure.
need all of it. Because
Sure.
what we're really doing here is we're getting back to the Garden of Eden. See, we've already run the gamut on the diseases, on the bad eating, on the stress levels, on the anger and the violence, and you've done it to the max. You've done it till you're bored with it. Now it's time to open and do something else. And we're fully capable of making our heaven on earth right now.
So to open and do something else, what is it that you offer people out there as a spiritual teacher? What are you bringing to the table? What makes you different from Eckhart Tolle? What makes you different from other spiritual teachers? What are you bringing to the, what do you bring to in the spiritual community, or for those who are looking for spiritual enlightenment, or those who want to become conscious individuals and live a life that they're supposed to live? I've viewed your website, and a fantastic quote came up on your page about you, and down at the bottom it says that it's your passion to awaken our souls to liberation and to heal with compassion and love. I mean, that is a fantastic quote. So you've made it your mission to teach consciousness and enlightenment to individuals through compassion and love.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, well, that would be, because people connect highly on compassion and love, because everybody wants it.
That's what you want. You want to be happy. There's a single person on this planet when they say that is the highest standing desire of all, is to be happy. The way they go about it is all wrong, unless you're going on the inside. See, because nothing that you have on the external will ever last. So I see it's an inside job all the time. And again, we are all needed. I have to tell you, I've learned so much from all of my teachers. What a blessing to see that not one of us is better or worse. We're also unique. That's our gift. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like Oprah Winfrey. My God, her consciousness ended up being a network phenomena. Okay, how beautiful is that?
That's awesome.
And so with me, I think.
So what do you bring then? So what do you do? What's your mission? What are you willing to do? What do you do?
First of all,
what do you want to deliver and smack out the bad from and bring in the good type of thing to people?
I'm not really teaching you anything you don't deep down know. So when I'm teaching you that, I'll always tell you, check in with you. How does it feel?
So
I'm just a guy.
You're teaching, you're awakening what's already deep down inside people.
I'm flipping the switch. Okay, it's been off. You don't even know where it's at. You've been fumbling in the dark forever, going, where is it? And maybe you've got glimpses of it on and on and off and on and off, and it's making you dizzy like a stroke. But my point is this: once you flip it on, you don't go back. There's no point. And so what's happening with a lot of, I would say, students of consciousness, they never get there, is because they've never actually reached it. Their ego mind is pretending this is enlightenment, this is consciousness, because and they don't even know how to check in. And so but what I'm if you want to just say, what do I offer that is different than my other mentors?
Well, just what do you offer people as a teacher?
Everything I've ever learned, and that's what we do. We offer our life in our course. So since I was and am into the physical health aspect, and know that that's, you've got to have a healthy body if you're going to live on this planet, Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be the person that's 80 years old, bent over and hunched and hurting, and you have a hip replacement, and a screwed up back.
Or 2 or 3.
I don't know, having sex anymore, and life is over, and and you're sitting out with the rest of your days going, this is it, I can't wait to die. That's not life at all, And with the right things that we've always known that we can use in our world, we are finding out that stress and depression and anxiety and violence is not just a mental condition, but it's caused by your organs and your body being toxic. So you got to learn how to love this with what nature has given you, the medicine that nature has given you to cure you. You can be cured. See, that's the thing. You can be cured of every ailment you have if you know what you're doing and you know what to take and you stay and you are persistent with that mission.
So, clearing out your body, is that going to make you become conscious or
No, not in
enlightened?
itself. Not in itself, which is why you have a full circle: mind, spirit, and body. All three have got to be connected together. You've got to learn to overcome or dissolve the ego mind. It can't come and go as it please. It doesn't even need to be there. And people think, well, if you quit using your mind, you can't operate. Here's what I'm saying. Your ego mind is not your optimal mind. Your optimal mind works in conjunction with your heart. Your heart does the thinking for you. And your mind says, task completed to do this, da 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 da. And it doesn't have all these dramatic scenarios going on that are pulling you in this direction. And what a waste of energy all day long to be trapped in those thoughts. Think about it. All day long you're thinking 100,000 thoughts about 100,000 useless things. And wouldn't it be great if your mind could be centered enough to take a task where your heart says, we're going to do this today. And your mind says, good, pick up the paintbrush, here we go, da 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 da. And it doesn't get going off on...
So the mind just does what it's supposed to do.
It does what it's supposed to do. And then when the file cabinet is empty and it has the source and the ability to take in from the heart, from infinite wisdom, because you live here and you know you live here.
Mm-hmm.
But you're scared when you're using this, the ego mind, too much. You don't live here. This is vulnerable. Don't go there, you know. And then when you awaken, you go...
How'd that go?
When you awaken, though, that's very clear to you that it's been the mind playing the trick, and the heart is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Probably needs some healing and some love. But other than that, it's just fine. It works perfectly. In fact, it is the mechanism you should be thinking of through. But you can't think through your heart if your ego mind is still going on. That has to go first. And so people get caught in, I think that meditation for 2 hours and chanting and eating a vegan diet is going to get me to God. And then what happens is they get in and they get in the space, they get up, they walk out, they go, I'm unconscious again. So they don't take their meditation with them.
Well, that seems to be a hard thing to do.
It is not hard at all. That's
Well,
a belief.
How do you figure?
Because when you open your eyes, you stay. You stay conscious.
Well, how the hell do you stay in meditation when you open your eyes? I mean...
Because meditation is a state of a calm mind. Meditation is when you can calm the chatter in your mind. And so when you're still there, you open your eyes and you're conscious, you resurrect yourself, and that's how you go about your day. People are convinced, I'm meditating. I am not meditating. You see, meditation doesn't need to stop. People just don't know how to observe their thoughts.
So... Okay. So...
I love it. I love it because it cannot be. This is something that cannot be really understood by the mind. You see what happens?
Absolutely not. The mind goes, and you're like,
and that's how you know. Yeah, short circuit.
It's like fried.
It does.
You know.
It does.
So I think that that's fantastic. I think what you're doing and the mission in which you put forward for yourself, you know, to help as many people as you can, is very honorable, and it's very noble of you. Unselfish
well, listen,
is in a sense.
Everybody's a potential teacher. Every person I come to who awakens in consciousness will not be able to stop. They want to break the door down, stand on the mountain, and scream it. Do you know what's inside you? Do you know how amazing you are? Do you know that you have the power to do and change anything in your life at the blink of an eye if you know what you're doing? Does that mean that money falls out of the sky? Well, no, not really. Because there are learning processes you need to have on your path to get where you want to go. If you say, I want to be a multimillionaire, you're not going to know what to do with that if in the morning you wake up and you have an empire and all this money in the bank and these tax collectors and all this stuff, and you go, I have no idea what to do, because you didn't take the path to learn how to get there. It's drawn out for you. And people forget that they're moving in the step because they're not using the law of the universe in accordance with that. They're all over the place. Or they get so discouraged. Well, it's been, I thought if I use this, the secret, the law of attraction, then I should be, by such and such a date, and I need to be a millionaire. If I'm not, this crap doesn't work. That's not it.
And I've run into that problem myself a few times, that this doesn't work or that doesn't work. But at first one, I'm gonna stop you right there, just because that's a
It's loaded.
That's a lot of information.
It's good though.
And it's like
it's so good. We're ready for this. We're so hungry for how to get out of our misery. I mean, that we're willing to do the most god-awful things to ourselves. And on the other side, we all want the same thing. What do you think a person who's drinking is looking to do? Well,
escape.
Escape to what?
Drugs, escape.
To what?
To whatever.
An illusion of happiness.
Yeah, I've been there.
A moment of bliss.
So, I want to say thank you so much.
No formalities. We're just here having a chat.
Thank you for sharing those things, and this podcast can be found where? Well, this podcast and information about you and what you're doing can be found where? Where can people find you?
Oh, well, obviously the website. That's JulietCameronLLC.com. And we're blasting things on YouTube. I love YouTube. I love it. I think.
Well, it's free. You never know who's looking.
Do you know? And you know something? You can help so many people who don't have the funds right now to get to a workshop or.
Now, on your website, I've seen that you do Skype.
That's one-on-one sessions.
One-on-one sessions with Skype.
Well, you know why I decided to do that is because there's a lot of people, one, who may be in dire straits with their finances, and one, can't afford to go to a workshop. Two, they'd have to make arrangements with their job and traveling and all that stuff to get one if it's not in their area. And you should be able to get the help that you need for a fraction of that cost for an hour for yourself anytime. The whole objective is to show people consciousness is a normal state of being, and you can be as flamboyant as you wish or as quiet and docile as you wish, because you're you. That's all you're supposed to do or be when you're here, is to be you completely. We're just conditioned as kids to come out of it. Don't do that. Don't pretend. Quit daydreaming. Be something else. Be the doctor. Be the lawyer. Be the person who makes all this money, and that tends to be what matters, instead of be who you are. What do you like? What do you love? And just letting kids unfold to being who they are. I'm not trying to turn the world into a bunch of holy rollers. See, that's the other side.
Hot dice.
It's the other side of crazy. Okay, and I say that out of love. Okay, there's anytime violence is put into and mixed with a state of what people call a religion and stuff like that, is the violence doesn't belong there. Anger doesn't belong there. Hate doesn't belong there. Love, unconditional love, is the source of our creation.
Did you hear that, everybody? Unconditional love is the source of our creation.
You know it. You do.
That's right. We do. Thanks again, Juliet, for doing this podcast with me. It was awesome, exciting. Thank you so much.
Till we meet again.
All right.
All right.